Introducing Under Armour's Infinity High Sports Bra. Its ergonomic design is molded to support the natural movement of your body. With cord-out padding, the better breathability eliminates extra bulk without sacrificing support. And quick-dry padding is Under Armour's fastest-drying padding yet. When you're lifting heavy, running fast, and pushing yourself further than ever before, you need a bra that will help you go that extra mile and make you feel your best. Shop the Infinity High Sports Bra now at UA.com. Target has Laundry Day covered because they offer a great selection of concentrated Tide Pods to help with all your laundry needs. Tide Pods clean, freshen, and help rejuvenate your clothes with odor fighters and stain removers. Did you know Tide Pods clean better than the leading liquid bargain detergent? Tide Pods are powerful enough to make your whites white and your brights bright, even in cold water. Just toss in 1 Tide Pod for small loads, 2 for medium, 3 for large. It's that easy. For great value and convenient pickup options, get Tide Pods today at Target.
Hey folks, welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. My name is Mason. Today we are throwing the episode back to 2019 when we talked to Sean Green about climbing and biking down all the Munros of Scotland, and that's just a series of mountains that are called the Munros. There's 282 of them, and he is setting out to do all of them. And when we talked, he had only done a third of them, maybe. But he's at 203 right now out of 282. So we need to get an update. I'd love to talk to him when he's done to see how the second half of the experience has gone. But it's a long experience, as you can imagine, just like any set of mountains can be, from the 14ers to the Washington Bulgers to any sort of long list can be a lifetime goal, or definitely a multi-year goal for most people. So, of course, Sean has, kids and a full-time job and all this stuff you got to fit the adventures around. And so it's pretty cool that he's been able to progress over the years to get closer and closer to that goal of 282. So hope you enjoy this talk. He's very passionate, goes about it a really cool way, and just loves what he's doing. So I found it really inspiring, someone that can balance a normal life and doing something really cool. Check out his Instagram too. He's constantly posting videos of the downhills after he climbs these Munros and just what it looks like. It's just absolutely stunning, as you can imagine. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. Your name is Sean Green, and you are biking up all of the Munros in Scotland?
Yeah, well, it's more about the biking down them. There's maybe only about 4 or 5 of them that you could actually ride to the top. I've done that where I can, but I tend to try and save my energy for the descent. Yeah.
Wow. So you carry the bike to the top and then ride down?
Yeah. That's pretty much how it goes. Yeah.
Wow. And so are you taking the main trails down, or are you trying to kind of do your own trail?
Well, the beauty of it is, I'll spend a lot of the time studying OS maps, and also other people's walk reports, because these aren't, manufactured trails for bikes. There's a lot of it that isn't rideable. So by studying the maps, I could sort of find the best gradients and other possible routes, and also when I'm up there, as long as my navigation's on point, it's just sort of, I'm free to explore. I could play in different sections and, just sort of find the best way down. The most fun I can have while I'm up there.
Holy cow. So I pronounce it Munro. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, Munro. Named after Sir Hugh Munro. He sort of listed them all and put the Munro table together. Yeah, there's 282.
Gosh, and how many have you done?
I've done 104 so far.
Wow, and how long has that taken you?
Well, like I say, it's been sort of on and off. This isn't a full-time thing for me, so, I've juggled it between, since I started this, I work in the construction industry, so and I'm self-employed, so a lot of my works from pillar to post. So I've had maybe 10 or 12 jobs in the time that I've started doing this, all over the country. My truck's been off the road for maybe 4 or 5 months of that time. I've had a kid, we've had other family commitments, so probably a little over 2 years. But in actual solid days of riding, I've maybe done 65 days of riding. So
Yeah, man. So when you go out, do you already know what you're going to do? Like you have a set, maybe 4 or 5 you try to do, or is it just one at a time?
well, that's it. The beauty of them is some of them you can do. Was it the most I think you could do in a day? I think is 12, or maybe it's 11, and that's in Skye. But it's that's the Coolin Ridge Traverse is it's the most difficult set of mountains in the UK. And it's sort of known all over the world. And I'll be doing that over the course of 5 days. But the most I've done in a day is 7. I've done a few 7s, where you can link them together. There's some pretty low Belix, but if you're lucky, you could only drop down 200 or 300 meters before you start climbing again, and then you're on towards the next summit. And then there's other ones that are 15 miles from any sort of civilization, even the nearest road, and they're just simple out and backs. So it's a pretty even split. For the most part, you could probably get say 2 would be your general. For 80% of your days out, you could probably bag 2 Munros at a time.
Do you have all your future trips planned out, or you just kind of somewhat?
Yeah, I sort of plan it week on week. I have with the bigger days out, I have obviously a bit of a plan in place. Me and the photographer I work with, Andy Cole, that I think reached out to you. Obviously, we plan some big trips together, like we're doing the Coolin Ridge this summer, over 5 days. So that's in the books, and we'll sort of plan one for each season where me and Andy will work together. So we'll try to make that a pretty special one. If it's a more remote or just majestic looking Munro, we'll plan them together. But week on week, I'll just I'll keep an eye on the weather, but I'll also try and vary my edits and blogs. So I don't want 2 weeks, to be riding pretty much in the same glen, because there's not much, variation for my followers.
I see.
Sorry, but between the weather and mixing things up a little bit as well. Another issue that I often face is just the logistics. When I started doing it, I was doing sort of everything as close to my house as I could, and as the project went on, I sort of came to the realization that this would be a nightmare logistically if I keep doing this, where the rest of the Munros that I need to do for the last 180 are all going to be over a 4-hour drive in each direction. So now I try and make it a bit more sporadic, so that I don't need to, some weeks I could be back at home sort of late afternoon, and then the next week, it's a whole weekend required just to grab one Munro. So it's just got to keep mixing it up and slight planning ahead. Yeah.
That's a really cool idea. How'd you get the idea to do it in the first place?
To be honest, I was doing a lot of trail building at the time, at one of my local spots, and a lot of the riding in this country, especially the man-made stuff, is in like forests and woodlands, just so the trails are protected by from the rain and stuff and the wind. We don't have that many places where we're able to ride out in on open mountains, and I crave that. I crave big descents, long descents, going fast, and just getting a bit loose. And there was one day I was trail building, and I looked up to the other side of the glen, and that's where sort of the bigger mountains start to appear. And I just thought, what, I'm going to head out there, and I did. I had a great day. and I'd happened to decide to take in 2 Munros at the time, and off the back of that, I had like a 20-minute descent, and it was just, I was smiling from ear to ear. So I went home with that fresh in my mind. I started looking up some more like easy to do ones, and they were quite close. I went and done them, and I thought, oh, like I'm on like an untapped source here, like why is nobody else doing this? And I bought a Munro map to see sort of again logistically where everything was, and I walked into my wife one day and I just said to her, like, I'm going to bike every single one of these Munros. And that was it. The idea was born.
What'd she say?
Let me know when you're done.
So she supported it.
Yeah. She supports me 100%. Like I'm really, really fortunate. Obviously this project brings its own troubles. Just with general family stuff. Like if I've got a big weekend planned, and there's maybe an occasion or event or something on, or if we're just missing each other, or the kids are missing me, all has its own issues. But she's been amazing. She works her work around it wherever she can. She gives me a bit of free rein at times, and obviously I'm away having the time of my life, summiting these mountains, and having the best descents of my life. And sometimes she's just had a really tough week at work, and then she has to have a really tough weekend at home without me. So she's an absolute saint.
Sounds like life, man.
Yeah.
And I love hearing from people that don't have like a trust fund or $1 million to just do whatever they want. They're making it happen with normal life. That's my dad was a worker. He worked construction, he painted, and we still had adventures every other weekend or so. We'd do something fun, and I don't know, we weren't privileged at all with it. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's, just living life, you just got to make the most of what you can.
Never been to Scotland, never seen the Munros. I'm looking through your Instagram, man. It's just gorgeous. It looks awesome. And are they busy, or are you out there alone on the bike?
Some Munros, it could be some of the easier to reach ones, that are within an hour and a half of, say, Glasgow, Scotland's biggest city. There's one there, Ben Lomond. Like I say, it's within like an hour and a half's drive from Glasgow, and at the summit of there, on a fine day, it could be like walking into Starbucks, and that just doesn't do anything for me at all.
Jeez, yeah.
It sort of takes, like, mountains are my escape. Like if daily life's getting me down, or something's playing on my mind, like I just want to elope into the mountains. It's just my happy place, and where all my problems fade away. So I like to be out in the remote, out in the wild. And what I've found as I get further through this project, that once you get into certain numbers, like say over 100, like I am, or even like over 50 or 60, you start to find more remote and less visited Munros, and they're real hidden gems. It's just it's a wonderful thing. It really is, and it's all on my doorstep. So
wow. So as you get close to halfway, what has the experience been like for you versus what you thought it was going to be when you first started out?
So far, to be honest, it's taken like, when I very, very, very first had the idea, I'd sort of planned to have finished it by now, or at least be nearing the end. But it's just sort of everything's worked out in a way that, like it's meant to have happened. I've picked up some amazing sponsors for the project, and like they're supporting me with kit, and it really, really makes like the best of the situation. And the longer it goes on, although I had a timeline in my head, it works out better for everybody. I'm still able to build a sort of name and future for myself in the mountain bike industry through doing this, and my sponsors are getting more and more exposure. And obviously, the further it goes on, the more my name gets about, and the more publications get involved. And I've got my second magazine feature is coming out this month. And if I'd finished all this by now, none of this would be happening. I wouldn't have been maybe I wouldn't have been speaking to you, and it's all just sort of come into fruition in the way I feel like it should have.
Man, it might be a blessing that it takes longer, like you said, because people get to grow the community. Because, yeah, you're right. If you did it all at once, it'd be hard to build it up as you go. Because, man, it seems like you just keep growing. You got like a brand now almost.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm hoping to do off the back of it. And, when people see that I'll do this, and I'll only be the second person in the world to have ever done this, only after a man named Paul Tattersall, who done it in the late 80s, early 90s. But he was mainly using his bike for access and egress. But he still is the only man in the world who's taken his bike to the summit of every one of these mountains. But the advantage I have over him is that, my bike's far more capable than what his was. And with that, humans advance as well, and my riding ability, will be greater than what his was. I've also got the privilege of the internet, where I can write blogs about it, and I create and edit for sort of each of my days out, so people can live vicariously through me. These are all little things that he didn't have the privilege of. So I just feel blessed with it.
Let's take a quick message break and hear from the folks that help make this show possible. That is plenty of that for now. Let's get back into the episode. I know there's a lot of people can say there's a lot about social media I hate, but I will say when I'm down or I don't know, if I'm bored or something and I just need to pick me up, man, I'll scroll through all my old pictures on Instagram from all my past trips, and it's like I'm instantly gratified again of all the things I've accomplished,
Yeah,
You
totally.
got hours of videos of descents and pictures, and you'll just be able to scroll through all that and say, man, look at all this. Look at all that I did. This is crazy. On the weekends between working construction jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's... And off the back of it as well, and it's probably a long way off yet, and there'll be other things that get in the way and other projects. But I'd like to write a book of my experience. That's a big goal that I've had, and I just feel like, well, it'll be a diary. My project is Grizzly Munro Diaries, and I suppose that'll be the full diary in print. So I feel like the project's just got so much more to give.
Absolutely. And you know what? You have that foundation now to when you publish something like that, you'll be able to push it to all these outlets and connections and sponsors you've made. So what's some of the interesting stories that have happened out there? Anything just super memorable?
Yeah. There's been some crazy memories. One of my favorites, and it's probably been my favorite day to date. It was the first time I'd met Andy. Again, thanks to social media, I believe I've now made a friend for life through Andy, the photographer. We met through social media, and we arranged that we'd do a trip together. And he met me in Glencoe for a weekend, and we had maybe 6 or 7 Munros planned out. And on the Friday night, we got there pretty early, and it was a super hot day. And we decided, we'll try and get a couple of Munros tonight. So we set off, and Andy wasn't exactly mountain fit at the time. I think he'd been doing a lot of local riding, but nothing of this magnitude. And so I'd ended up leaving him a wee bit further down, and I said, look, Andy, I'm going to push on for the summit before sunset. And I reached the summit of Binny Moor in the Mamors, which is sort of just lies between Glencoe and Fort William. And I just watched the sunset over Ben Nevis, at 10:30 at night in complete silence. The most beautiful sunset I've ever seen. I could see for miles. I could probably see 50, 60 miles in every direction. It was simply stunning.
Wow.
And off the back of that, the sun went down, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to get down this mountain now. And it was one of those days. I had the best ride of my life. Everything fell into place. I hit every turn as I want to. I got every pedal stroke in. Everything just felt great. I got down to the bottom that day, and I felt nothing but euphoria. It was jaw dropping. And there's been a couple like that, and I take great pleasure in my own company, and I feel like that's an important trait to have, especially in this project. That I don't need to share these moments with people to appreciate how good they are. I could just be sitting in my living room one night, and it'll just come back to my head, and I'll just sit there smiling, and my wife will be like, what are you thinking about? Oh, it's just just that one night last summer, and it's just, there's so many good stories that have come off like that. It's just it's just a crazy project and a crazy experience.
That's awesome. It doesn't have to be, I don't know, it's like you have to be there, because I talked to this guy earlier today. He's been walking around the world for 5 years, and he said his favorite memory was being in the desert. He would lay his tarp out and just lay on the tarp in the sand and look at the stars. And I said, in 5 years, that was your best memory, huh? And he said, you just had to be there, man. It's hard to describe how everything just came together in that moment to be probably as close to perfect as it gets. And that sounds like it's what it's been for you too. And
I believe that, perfect, it's a funny old word, but I feel like it's all about, perfect's a very personal thing. Not everything has to line up in everybody's sort of perfect way, but for you, in that moment, in that place, just that solitude, and it was just, there's no other way to describe it than perfect. Like, I wouldn't have changed a thing.
Wow, man, that is so awesome. And now you're still doing these through the winter too, right?
Yeah. Last year I struggled to do as many through the winter. We had a crazy 4 months of snow, or at least it felt that way. Not so much, across the mainland and down at the lower reaches, at sea level, but the mountains stayed with well over a meter of snow for the most part, which if it's fresh dustings that keep coming along, and make it pretty hard to bike through. Powder is hard work. Even with my ice spike tires, they struggle.
Underdog Fantasy is the fastest growing fantasy app and easiest place to play fantasy sports. Just jump on UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app, draft your team, and that's it. And if drafts aren't your thing, they also have a pick'em game where you can win 20 times your money in a single night. Use promo code RADIO, and Underdog will double your first deposit when you sign up with up to $100 in bonus cash. Deposit $100, get $100 free. That's promo code RADIO. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, welcome to your neighborhood pharmacy.
Hi, I've got a prescription for diabetes test strips. How much is the copay?
Well, it depends on your type of commercial insurance and factoring in your yearly spend, subtracting the deductibles, also depending on your monthly allowance.
Why can't there be a better option?
Or you could try Contour Next test strips. A 35 count's only $19.99 over the counter and proven to be highly accurate. Go to contournext.com/radio to see if over-the-counter strips are a more affordable option for you.
I think I'll try Contour Next.
Powder, if I get a good freeze, I can make light work of snow. But like Andy and I done a recent trip there, just, was it maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago? We'd previously done the height of summer, we'd done an autumn trip, and then we're like, right, okay, well, we've got those shots, we've got the sun, we've got the rain, let's get the snow involved. And to have Andy there with me and to capture what I can see, watching the sunset over snowy mountains, because snow just adds a whole other element, even just visually, not even when it comes to riding, it just makes, obviously, these Munros, compared to other mountain ranges in the world, they're just babies. But when they're snow-capped, they bring on this whole other demeanor. They look so much more menacing and and quite scary at times, and it adds to the grandeur of things. So yeah, we brought Andy along, and it was actually the day just kind of things just kept going wrong, but it was always again like it was meant to be. I borrowed a drone from one of my friends, and we had this idea of involving my truck a lot more. So we had it driving up towards the mountain. I had these images ingrained in my head that I needed to capture, and straight off the bat, 7 a.m. the temperatures wouldn't allow the GoPro the drone to record. I managed to get it flying okay, and then the flight time was cut short by the cold. So I was like, right, okay, let's forget the drone. We'll set off, and then something else went wrong. My GoPro froze. The cold just totally killed the battery. It was minus 16 centigrade with the wind chill. So everything. We had icicles hanging off my beard, and the GoPro was dead. But because of that, and the fact that I wasn't under any pressure to get any footage, usually I'd be rushing Andy on, saying, look, I need to get down, because as the light fades, the stabilization on the GoPro sort of fails, and you get a really grainy picture, and it just doesn't pick things up well. But because of this chain of events, we'd ended up just saying, well, let's hang about at the summit for sunset, and that's exactly what we'd done. And it was stunning, and we got just some incredible pictures that just painted like a much stronger picture than any video could have done. So it's just like the Lord works in mysterious ways sometimes.
How was the ride down after that?
It was difficult, because it was sort of between 2 and 3 foot of powder, and a lot of the hill wasn't a lot of the hill wasn't like sort of steep enough gradient to get any momentum going. But like anything, I rode what I could, and when I managed to get a decent gradient, I was having the time of my life. I imagined I was bored, and I was just cutting turns up wherever I could, and I was just carving my own way down the mountain.
What an awesome adventure, because it's so, and it's honestly, it's cool to tackle something all at once like this, but you're getting to see it all, at different times of the year, and you get to plan these little micro adventures around each kind of cluster of them, and eventually, maybe not eventually, but every once in a while involve other people, get all this good footage, and also live a totally normal life on the side. Like it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. When you put it like that, it's it is pretty awesome.
Man, not a lot of people get to just look forward to something like that every other week. And how often do you try to get out?
Basically every opportunity that I can. Like I said, me and my wife sort of are into a rota, where we'll do sort of 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off, just so I can spend time with the family, and so that she can work some weekends. And so at the bare minimum, I'll get out twice a month. But if there's any sort of holidays or anything fall, like over Christmas there, I had a couple of weeks off work, and my wife had made it, she'd rearranged her things at work so that there was 1 week that I could get out 4 times. And just to have that, like it gave me that sense of like I felt like this was my full-time job, and that was just it was a crazy feeling, and it sort of opened my eyes to maybe what's possible in the future.
And what would that be? What are you looking at in the future?
I want to make adventure mountain biking, my life. I'd love to give up my day job and, go out on these, micro adventures, as you say, for 2, 3, 4 days at a time. Throw together an edit, loads of photos, write, photo stories and blogs, release that, sort of have a week off, do the next one. I want to come across the States. So I want to go to Canada. I want to go to the Himalayas. Me and Andy are speaking about Scandinavia. I've got so many little cogs turning in my head about what's possible off the back of this. It's just kind of hard to contain my excitement.
Yeah, man. How close are you to making that stuff a reality?
At the moment, Andy and I's plan is to sort of create a media production company. Through my contacts at the moment, we've got a foot in the door with some companies that we could work with. We're promoting their gear throughout the world, and we're speaking about our next, our at least our first international being towards sort of Norway is what we're looking at. But again, I've got commitments to my sponsors that I don't want to get sidetracked really in any way and putting too much time and effort into someone else until I can give them what I promised them. So at the moment, my mind is that I'm going to stay UK based and get this project out of the way, and then see if we could, get a proper plan in place for sort of venturing throughout the world.
If you're just out there doing something, it's just better than not being out there doing something, So as long as you keep going and finish this project, there's no telling what's gonna come up ahead. And so, man, does this project feel long at times? Like, holy cow, I've got so many left to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's been so many times to do that, and even now, like, I think I've worked out, and I've only done 36% of all the Munros, and there's been some tough days, and there's been some really, really long days. There's been times where I've gone away for the entire weekend with a plan to take in 9 Munros, and the weather is just it's turned on me, and I came home with 4. And there's times like that where obviously I get really bad where I'll build things up in my head, and when that plan gets taken away from me, even in everyday life, it has this really profound effect on me. I kind of get a wee bit huffy. If I have a plan and that plan falls by the wayside for whatever reason, I don't take it great. So in days like that, I find it a hard pill to swallow, and then I feel guilty about within myself, and then I feel bad that I've not got the content to put out for my followers and for sponsors, and it's all just I think there's a lot more involved in this project than I allow myself to appreciate. But my wife certainly understands how much is involved. And
what do you feel guilty about?
Just I think I have a lot of time frames and stuff that I try and keep in my head, and I try and keep to, and then like when I can't meet them, I feel like I sort of let myself down in a way and let the side down. But it's all just it's just like personal stuff, and just this timeline that's in my head, and it's not like there's any pressure from anywhere else, but any pressure in my life I sort of bring on myself. I think it's just within my personality, my own worst enemy at times.
It's probably the same skills that led you to do this project and get as far as you have in the first place probably turn against you sometimes and make you feel guilty and make you feel pressure that's not there. And man, I'd have never guessed looking at your page like that you're behind schedule or anything. To me, it's completely badass by itself,
Yeah. Well, you're not the first one to say that. Like, there's the amount of people, I'd say 90% of my followers still think that this is my full-time job, and so I must be doing something right. So
that tells me that's another confirmation how powerful and deceptive social media can be, because it looks like it. Looks like all you do is camp next to your truck that's with them shark teeth on it. That is too funny, man. So what you mentioned a few places earlier. What are some of those dream destinations? Is it the Himalayas, Canada, and all that?
Yeah. I'd like to. Well, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what I'd like to do, because there's I can't think of anywhere else in the world where you can ride an entire mountain range. So I'm very, very lucky that opportunity is in this country. But in sort of micro adventures, there's things I'd like to do. Like, I'd love to do just smaller things like Everest Base Camp and just, well, there's so many like routes in Nepal and stuff, and I'd like to go to Morocco. I'd like to go to, there's places in the Middle East that are so, barely explored. There's just there's probably 100 places in every continent that I'd love to explore. So
I tell people it's frustrating, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. It's just, and then it's trying to pinpoint where you want to go first. Like I'm just like a kid in a candy shop.
That's what I tell people out here. We live in Colorado, and there's so much to do. You don't have time, and you don't have the money to do it all, and
yeah, that's it.
you don't even have the body that can handle it all. It's just, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, well, what the hell is all this out here for if I can't do it all? But you just kind of gotta be happy with what you get, I guess, because it's endless, which is great in a way.
Yeah.
It's endless. Well, hopefully this project isn't endless for you, and you get to the end one day.
Oh, I'll mark my words.
Man, so is that what your sponsors, you committed to your sponsors that you do it all?
Yeah, absolutely, and far beyond any of my sponsors or any of my followers. This project is entirely for me. Like I would be, the other reason this all started is, when I was younger, we would always, the family would go away camping and it would be hill walking. And, even at 4 or 5 years old, I'd be walking down the hills and I'd imagine that I was on my bike. I'd be holding these pretend handlebars and riding my way down. And as I got older, I was still doing the same thing. And, I'd say to myself, like, oh, I wish I had my bike, even if it was for 50 meters, 100 meters of riding. Like to me, that just seemed worth it. So, when I decided that I was going to do it, I didn't have any following. I didn't even set up a page. This was just, I posted it on my personal social media, and it was actually, a guy I know, and he was like, Sean, I think people could really get into this. Like, make something of it. He actually pointed me into the sponsors. He's like, why don't you reach out to the company and see if they'd be interested? And, a couple of them just lapped it up. They were just, and I wasn't expecting it at all. And it all just sort of, one thing led to another, and it was all a bit of a whirlwind, because I was doing this anyway, but now I've got some of the best brands in the world, wanting to be a part of it. It's just a really humbling experience.
That's fantastic. So sponsorship has helped you a lot with gear and stuff and making it happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I was fairly abusing my bike. I was, breaking a lot of parts and going through a lot. And when it started off, like I just reached out to a couple of companies about, helping out with a bike I had, and they were like, "Oh no, yeah, I want to do that, but let's see if we can get you a full bike first of all." So that was the first seed that was planted in my head, and here I am with a stunning bike, well beyond my means and well beyond what's financially possible for me in my current situation. I'm kitted out with the best gear money can buy. Making me safe, keeping me warm, keeping me dry. And just. I've got some like little lifestyle sponsors, on board now that just generally make my life a bit easier. Even just like I've got a company on board that supplied me with a little portable power washer, and even just a little thing like that. It really makes a big difference to my day. The support has been phenomenal. It really has been great.
Just happy to hear that. But it sounded like you got started first.
Yeah.
And then all the activity started to follow, as far as the following and the sponsorships and stuff. But you started the journey without any of that in mind.
Yeah. Oh, that was never on the cards. This being what it is now was, it hadn't even entered my mind. I just said to myself, I want to bike all these mountains, and I started doing it, and then companies came on board, and now I've got a few thousand followers, and maybe about 4,000 followers combined across my social medias. And to me, that's insane. Because I'm generally quite a private person, and I keep my private life private, and to have complete strangers, spotting like my truck out in the wild, and posting images of online saying, "Oh, I've seen Grizzly's truck," and bumping into them in the hills, and and then people speaking to me on social media telling me I'm an inspiration. Like that's insane. Like that my actions are inspiring people to want to get outside and be active and see these sights for themselves. There's so much more to life than looking at it through a phone screen. And what I'm doing is making people want to go out there and see it for themselves, and that's just that's something that money can't buy.
You're right. That's priceless, and that's what it's all about, man. If you can get out there, if you being out there and posting pictures of it makes other people want to get that same feeling that you have out there, man, how can you ask for anything better in life,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and your truck is really hard to miss.
Yeah. It gets more attention than I do.
It's an awesome truck, man. I love it. It looks like a perfect companion for this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a money pit. It's always breaking on me. There's always I've got I'm sitting in the garage at the moment, and I've got a small mountain of replacement parts ready to go on it. But it's just that age-old thing of loads of money and no time, or loads of time and no money. So just got to do it when I can do it.
Looks like you need a truck sponsor.
Well, that's I'm working away at it. I'm trying my best to get some help with this. There's some companies across in your neck of the woods that I've spoken with, and then opportunities come and go, and then there's radio silence, and it's the one thing about sponsorship is you never really quite know where you are. Some companies could be so into the idea, and then they could vanish off the space of the earth.
I wish you the best of luck as you continue and knock this journey out. And you've had so much fun in the first 30-something%, man. You're going to have, well, statistically speaking, about 3 times as much fun.
Yeah, about 64%. A lot of fun left. So, yeah, it's good.
Oh, man. Well, congratulations. Thanks for staying up late and being on the show, and just continue. I hope you inspire your kids too. You know what I mean? I hope they grow up and do something just as cool as what you're doing.
Yeah, me too. So, thank you for the opportunity. Again, even things like this, speaking to somebody across the pond about my project is just, it's hugely humbling. So
crazy, ain't it? Well, actually, where can people follow you? I want to ask you that before we get off.
My Instagram and Facebook are my 2 biggest outputs. The Instagram is Grizzly_Munro_Diaries. And again, the same for the Facebook, just search for Grizzly Munro Diaries. I've also got a YouTube, but I currently do my whole project through my phone. I don't actually have any computer access. So once I capture all the footage on my GoPro, I do all the editing through my phone. I write the 3,000 and 4,000 word blogs through my phone.
Oh man, that's a lot of thumbs.
Yeah, I post everything online through my phone. So I've got YouTube, but it sometimes falls behind. But again, that's just Grizzly Munro Diaries. And if people want to help support the stream and really make a difference, I've got a Patreon account as well. A sort of subscription service to financially aid me in any way they can, with different tiers of help from $1 to $5 a month, and that really, really does go a long way. Even helping cover fuel, which is I'm about £400 a month just in the project, which is the equivalent of a 1-bedroom flat across here. So it's pretty expensive. So
yeah, absolutely. No, I get it, man. Every bit helps. People don't realize just how much $1 or $2 can help when everyone chips in, you know?
It's crazy. It really is crazy how far it goes. So, yeah.
Congratulations on getting so far, and we wish you the best of luck, and we'll be following you, and we're going to do an interview once you finish, too. All right?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be looking forward to it and hearing about all that fun you're about to have.
Yeah, me too, Mason. Thank you.
Sean, thank you so much, man, for staying up late, and best of luck. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, see ya.
Cheers. Bye.
First of all, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you choose to listen to this show. If you'd like to help us further, you can leave a review on iTunes, share us with your friends, your family. It goes a long way to growing the show. You can also support us financially through patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. Link is in the show notes. And also, if you have an idea of who could be a good guest for the show, we're always looking for people to tell their story about the outdoors or adventure. So if you know someone, please reach out. Email us at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And until then, get out there and have some fun.
Introducing Under Armour's Infinity High Sports Bra. Its ergonomic design is molded to support the natural movement of your body. With cord-out padding, the better breathability eliminates extra bulk without sacrificing support. And quick-dry padding is Under Armour's fastest-drying padding yet. When you're lifting heavy, running fast, and pushing yourself further than ever before, you need a bra that will help you go that extra mile and make you feel your best. Shop the Infinity High Sports Bra now at UA.com. Target has Laundry Day covered because they offer a great selection of concentrated Tide Pods to help with all your laundry needs. Tide Pods clean, freshen, and help rejuvenate your clothes with odor fighters and stain removers. Did you know Tide Pods clean better than the leading liquid bargain detergent? Tide Pods are powerful enough to make your whites white and your brights bright, even in cold water. Just toss in 1 Tide Pod for small loads, 2 for medium, 3 for large. It's that easy. For great value and convenient pickup options, get Tide Pods today at Target.